Welcome to this second session about GPU programming, this time with compiler directives, which will be presented by Orient Louan from the University of Liège. Okay, Orient, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Damien. So, quite the same topic, but different way to program a GPU. So we will use directives that we will give to the compiler in order to generate the code that can be run on the GPU. So it's a completely different approach, and the introduction is quite the same as the one of Olivier. So as I've seen in the registration, most of the people that takes this session are exactly the same as the one that take the CUDA session. I will go really fast. So in summary, the main difference between a CPU and a GPU is that the CPU is optimized for low latency, while the GPU is really optimized for data parallel high throughput calculation. And the main difference is that the CPU rely heavily on the cache and not so much on the arithmetic and logical unit, while the GPU has a lot of these units and a very small cache and a very small control unit. And with this difference, the consequence is that the way you send the work to the CPU and the GPU is quite different. With the CPU, you try to maximize the work done by one thread and minimize the context switch, while in the GPU case, you will send a lot of threads organized in warp or wavefronts if you are using AMD hardware. And the goal is really to have a warp that is always active while the other warp are waiting for memory access or be ready to be scheduled. So the goal is to have always a warp running while the other are waiting. So you have an internal scheduler on the GPU that will maximize the usage of the streaming multiprocessor or compute unit. And this is the main difference with the CPU, where the threads are running as much as possible before a context switch. And programming for GPU require a fine-grained parallelism compared to the coarse-grained parallelism of the CPU. It means that you need to divide your calculation in small parts, very small kernels, and that this kernel will work as much as possible on small piece of data, each kernel, so each thread, by the way, will work on the small piece of data. And to expose this fine-grained parallelism, we have created, the vendors have created a new programming model. And of course, you have vendor-specific models like NVIDIA CUDA or AMD HIP. And then you have a more closed platform system like OpenCL or Cycle. And you have also a high-level framework, mainly in C++, that is Trust and Cocos. And all this model requires you to write new code in order to program the GPU. And it means that if you have an existing code, you need to refactor it in order to be able to use GPU. You cannot use your existing code that was written and optimized at the origin for the CPU. And the idea with directive-based models is that instead of writing new code, you can use your existing code and add compiler directives to offload the execution to the GPU. And in this session, we will discuss two models, which is OpenACC and OpenMP. And OpenACC, which stands for Open Accelerator, is specifically designed to target accelerator device. It may be something else than a GPU. It can be an FPGA or an Intel night landing device. It's not limited to the CPU, but at least it has been designed from the ground up to accelerators. OpenMP, on the other end, is quite old. It was it was designed in the late 90s, and at the origin, it was designed for using multi-core CPUs. But since version 4, it's also target accelerator device. And again, this accelerator device can be something else than a GPU, sorry. It can be also FPGA or night landing device from Intel, even if they tend to disappear. So both these models are just designed to target accelerator. A GPU is an accelerator, but they're not limited to this kind of device. And the idea by using this model is that most of the work to port your code is done by the compiler, and the developer will just give basic information on how to parallelize the code on the GPU, and then the compiler will take care of generating code that can be run on this GPU. And for that, they use directives, and these directives are a special compiler instruction which gives hints to the compiler on how to process the source. And in our case, these hints and how to transform the code so that it can be run on a GPU. So these directives have the following form. In C, C++, you start with pragma, which gives the indication to the compiler that this is a directive. And then for OpenMP or OpenSCC, you have different keyword that is used. For OpenSCC, you use the ECC keyword to tell the compiler that this is an OpenSCC directive. And then for OpenMP, you use OMP to give hints to the compiler that this is an OpenMP directive. And then you have the directive name. So basically, this directive is the instruction to the compiler, what he has to do. And you have a clause list, which constitutes option about the directive that you are passing on the compiler. It gives additional instruction. They're not always needed. Sometimes you just give a directive and don't give any additional indication to the compiler, but they can be very useful to allow the compiler to optimize your code better. If you are in Fortran, you start with an exclamation mark and a $sign, and this is followed by ECC or OMP. And as the Fortran code is less structured, you don't have this curly brace to indicate a block of code. In some case, you need to indicate that this is the end of the block of the directive by using the end plus directives name in Fortran. So why would you use these kind of directives? The drawback is that you will not be guaranteed that you have the same performance as using the native solution of the hardware vendors. So with GPU directives, you will probably not get all the performance that you can get from using HIP or CUDA or OpenCL. However, it might be useful in some case to use this directive, for example, if you have an existing code with a large code base and you don't want to translate all your computational kernels to CUDA or HIP, and that you want to use the GPU as fast as possible, then the development time is vastly reduced by using directives, so that you get part of the performance, but not all the performance, but at least you go very fast to port your code to the GPU. Or some of your code is already translated to CUDA or HIP, but you want to parallelize some of it faster using directive, because you can mix the two. So using the native model CUDA or HIP and use directive on the other end. And you plan to use LUMI, and unfortunately on LUMI it will be AMD hardware, and AMD is not proposing a solution to use HIP with Fortran. So you need to write basically C code that you will call from your Fortran code, and if you have a large code base in Fortran, it can be easier to use directive in order to parallelize it for your for targeting a GPU. So concerning the execution model, I will separate the part about OpenMP and OpenSCC, as the way they're doing it is slightly different. And the first part is using exactly the same example as Olivier used, which is the Saxby example. So I will not go into all the details of the implementation, but what you can see is that instead of writing a kernel, we use a directive to indicate that we want to parallelize some part of the code to the GPU. And the idea is that you put this keyword target, which means that the compiler have to translate what's follow, the block of code that follow, in our case is just this loop, to create a kernel that will be executed to the GPU. And after that, we see that we have a lot of keywords, so teams, distribute, parallel, for, and this is basically describing the execution model of OpenMP on target, on accelerator. And this is the idea. The first part is the target directive, which instructs the compiler that it should offload the execution of the block of code that follow to the GPU. So in OpenMP, it will be the keyword target, and we will see later that in OpenACC, we use the keyword parallel. So what happens with all these additional keywords, teams, distribute, parallel, for, is that the idea is when all the iteration of this loop should be split between inside of the hardware, and the hardware is made of streaming multiprocessors as well as cores, and so we need to describe this using the directives. And the idea is that first you create a teams of threads, so multiple teams of threads, and when you create them at the beginning, they just you have all the teams, and then you have a master thread for each of these teams, and all these master thread will execute redundantly the whole iteration of the loop. So if we want to avoid this, so that we want to distribute the iteration of the loop between the teams of threads, then we use the distribute directive, so that each of the master threads inside of the team will take care of part of the iteration of the loop. So here we have created 4 teams, and we have 4,000 iterations. So each of the teams, the master threads in these teams of threads, will do 1,000 iteration each. And after that, so that's the idea. The teams construct just create a league of teams. A league of teams is just multiple teams, okay? And then you have the distribute construct that specify that the iteration of the loop should be distributed across the master thread of the team. So what is important is that all the threads in the team will not be active at this point. It's just the master thread of the team, okay? And then you can pull some information about these teams using either OpenMP get num teams, which gives you the number of teams that has been spawned. And if you want to get the number of the team, so the ID of the team, you use the OpenMP get team num. And the idea with this team basically is your block of threads. Or if you are using the AMD terminology, this is a work group. So it's exactly like with CUDA. When you create teams, you are creating blocks of threads. Okay. And then you have the parallel for directives, which will distribute all the iteration that was assigned to the team to the different threads. So we have 1,000 iteration for each of the team, and then all these 1,000 iteration will be shared across the threads present in the team. And of course, the execution model for a GPU is that they will be assigned to some warps or wavefront if you are on AMD hardware, but this is hidden in the case of OpenMP. You don't see all the details. It's just that you create your team of threads, but distribute the iteration to the teams, and then distribute the iteration of each team to the threads. So question. because the compiler cannot know where to split the work at the compile time. Yes, okay, but it's the number of iteration. The way the work is divided by inside the team is not really defined at compile time. This is done by the OpenMP runtime, so it doesn't need to know the number of. For your question, yeah, you don't need to know the number of iteration before executing it. The OpenMP runtime will take care of the sharing the work between the teams, so it's not needed. Okay, so summary, the distribute parallel for construct that just specify that the loop can be executed in parallel by multiple threads that are members of multiple teams. And as we have seen in the SAXP example, this construct can be used as a combined construct with the teams. So we create the team of threads and then distribute the work to the threads using the distribute parallel for. And of course, you can split the way you distribute the work. If you were a nest of loop, for example, with 2 loops, you can first distribute one of the loop to the teams. Okay, so basically the I iteration will be executed by the master thread of each team. So it will be distributed to the master thread, of each team. And then you can share the work of the J loop to the threads inside of the team. And the idea is that it will map to the hardware. So when you create your teams, these teams will be distributed to the streaming multiprocessor on a CUDA hardware or NVIDIA hardware, and will be divided among the compute units in the case of AMD. And then when you distribute the work inside the teams, then you have the threads, and these threads will be distributed to the CUDA cores and the stream processor with the intermediate level that is a warp or a wavefront on AMD hardware. In the case of OpenSCC, the execution model is slightly different. So this is the version of SAXP for OpenSCC. You can see that it's way smaller. You use less keyword to describe it. So in OpenSCC, if we want to offload execution, we use the parallel directives, and then we indicate that the loop that follows should be parallelized. And in addition to the parallel construct, OpenSCC include the kernel construct, kernels. With kernels, you just say to the compiler that you want to offload part of the code and that this code may contain parallelism. And the compiler is free to map the parallelism to the accelerator, and this is very similar to an automatic parallelization. So you just mark a block of code and say, okay, in this code there is probably a lot of parallelism, find it. So it's automatic parallelization. I will not use it for this presentation because this kernel directive works very well with one compiler, which is the compiler provided by NVIDIA. But the other available OpenSCC compiler, which is GCC, is not supporting this directive very well. It needs the parallel and needs the programmer to give him more information in order to be very efficient. So the idea is that I will ignore the kernel directive for this presentation and just use the parallel construct, which is way more explicit, and you need to use the loop directive to specify to the compiler that there is some loop that needs work sharing, so that the iteration of the loop should be shared amongst the threads. So you can use the kernel directive if you wish, and if you target NVIDIA hardware, it's not a problem. And I would say that the compiler provided by NVIDIA is very efficient to find parallelism, but it's dangerous if you want to use your code on different hardware and if you want to use GCC in the future, because you are not sure of the performance of this implementation at the moment. Okay, so this is the version of SaxPy using kernel. So in this case, we just say to the compiler that this loop contains parallelism, and the compiler will do all the work by itself. And the idea of the execution model between with OpenRCC is slightly different from the one of OpenMP. First, you have the parallel construct, and the parallel construct say, okay, you should offload the execution and create gangs. So the teams that you have in OpenMP, in OpenACC, it's called gangs. Okay, and each gangs will contain one worker. And you can see this as being target plus teams in OpenMP. Just using the parallel, you do target plus teams. Okay, and all the iteration of the loop will be done by each worker inside the gang, so it's executed redundantly so far. In the case of the NVIDIA compiler, it will probably do auto-parallelization by itself. It's not following exactly the OpenRCC specification, and sometimes when you just say parallel, there is no redundant execution because the compiler decided for you that the loop should be parallelized. So, but it's not exactly what is in the OpenRCC specification, and it just decides by itself that they should parallelize it automatically. You can disable this behavior, but by default, the NVIDIA compiler will just parallelize automatically. But if you're not using the NVIDIA compiler, and if you are using, for example, GCC, then you need to use the loop directive. I don't know why I put 4 there, because, I reuse something that, it's wrong. Yeah, okay. So in this case, you should write ECC parallel loop, okay? And these loops may loop directive instruct the compiler that the iteration of the loop that follow the directive should be distributed amongst the gangs and the workers of the gangs, okay? So this is equivalent to your teams distribute parallel 4. So this is the summary of this construct. You have the parallel one that create the kernel and and create also gangs that will execute this kernel. So the gangs are the blocks of threads, okay? And then you have the loop directive that say that the loop should be the iteration of the loop should be shared between the gangs and the workers in the gangs, okay? And this can be done using the combine construct parallel loop. So you say that you want to create a kernel with the loop and then share the iteration of the loop amongst the gangs and the worker. Okay. And OpenRCC, by doing this, expose 3 levels of parallelism, which is gang, worker, and vector. And basically, a gang is a group of workers which execute vector operation of a certain length. Okay, and you can map that to the hardware by doing the different, I would say, terminology of the programming model for NVIDIA and AMD to a gang being a thread block, okay, and a work group for AMD, and then a worker is a warp, okay, which is on AMD is a wavefront, and a vector is basically the threads, okay, or the work item and the threads. So that the number of threads inside a gang can be computed of the vector length, okay, and the number of workers that you have in your gang. So that's the basic idea of the 3 levels of parallelism that OpenRCC is exposing. Most of the time, if you are using the NVIDIA compiler, you can just ignore it. It will do the mapping by itself to suit the hardware best. Anyway, you can specify some options, and for example, you can specify the number of gangs using a numgangs clause, which will define the number of parallel gangs that will execute the parallel region. So it means the number of thread block or a work group. Num workers define the number of workers which we use in each gangs, okay, that will be active after the gang transition from the worker single to the worker partition mode. And when you go, you can also specify the vector length, so define the number of vector lengths that will be active after a worker transition to a vector single mode to the vector partition and mode. And basically this vector length for a GPU will be a multiple of 32, which is the size of a warp. And in the case of AMD hardware, depending on how recent the hardware is, the warp or the wavefront can be 32 or 64. So for recent hardware, AMD decided that it was not a good idea to use 64 because when you have a branch inside of the warp, when you are in a 64 wide wavefront, then you have more thread that are wasted. So they recently decided that 32, this was the choice of NVIDIA, was a better solution. So they now use 32 wide wavefronts. And using the gang and vector, you can use the gang vector or worker clause to the loop to specify how to map the parallelism of different loop. And in the previous example with OpenMP, we distributed between teams, and then we distribute the iteration of the I loop between the teams. Okay, we can do the same and just say that we want to distribute the iteration of the I loop to the gang, and then say, okay, you should vectorize, so create threads, different threads, and these threads will be executing the iteration in the J loop. So that's the basic idea with OpenACC. Okay, but the limitation is that a gang loop may not appear inside a worker loop, and of course you cannot use a vector loop inside of a worker loop inside of a vector loop. So the three levels of parallelism are hierarchical. So you have gang, worker, vector, and you cannot put a gang inside of a vector, and you cannot put a worker inside of a vector, okay? But you can specify that the sequential loop appears at any levels. It's not limited, but the important thing is that the gang should be the outer loop, and the innermost loop, it should be a vector or a worker, okay? Most of the time, if you are using the NVIDIA compiler at least, you may omit to specify the level of parallelism you want to use because the compiler is quite efficient and it will find the how to map the parallelism by itself. And this is also the main difference between OpenACC and OpenMP. OpenMP considered that the compiler is completely stupid and that the developer should give as much information as possible in order to the compiler to understand what is going on. In OpenACC, as you can guess, because they use the kernel construct for defining auto-parallelization, in OpenACC, they consider that the compiler can be smart and know better than the developer, the programmer, and say, okay, most of the mapping to the accelerator can be done by the compiler itself, and it doesn't give as much control to the developer programmer to give information to the compiler. So this is a very different way of seeing the directive-based programming is that one way OpenMP, the programmer does everything, and on the other hand, you have OpenACC that say, okay, the compiler should do most of the work and should understand by itself what it is supposed to do. And the idea is that the compiler knows better the hardware than the target hardware than the programmer. And so it means that if you use OpenACC to parallelize your code to an accelerator, any accelerator, the compiler will decide, okay, this is a GPU, this is the kind of parallelism that the GPU likes, so I will do this kind of code generation. And on the other hand, if it's an FPGA and it knows the FPGA quite well, he say, okay, for this FPGA, you should use this kind of partitioning of the code. So the compiler knows better the hardware and should do a better job than the programmer, and it's ensured that this is portable across a vast majority of the accelerator. In the other end, in OpenMP, you need to know a little bit about your target hardware in order to have efficient code. So that's the idea. Let's talk a little bit about the compiler support. Both OpenACC and OpenMP are quite recent, and for some of the compiler, the support for these directives are quite at the early stage of development, to say the most. And the quality of the implementation for OpenACC and OpenMP offloading may vastly vary between the compiler. GCC support NVIDIA and AMD hardware. But you have poor performance in some cases, but it's improving really fast. And in particular for AMD hardware, there is a huge progress that has been made because some company has been paid by the American to optimize GCC for AMD hardware, because as we will have LUMI with AMD hardware, the American in the United States, you will have also a big AMD supercomputer, and they need to target AMD hardware using GCC. So they're paying some company, I don't remember the name, in order to implement this support in GCC. So you may expect that the support of OpenACC and OpenMP offloading with GCC will improve in the following years. On the other hand, for OpenACC, you have the option to use the PGI compiler. PGI has been bought by NVIDIA, and as a consequence, the PGI compiler that is known as NVC, NVIDIA compiler, because they completely merge everything, only target NVIDIA hardware. At the beginning, the PGI compiler was also targeting the AMD hardware, but unfortunately, as NVIDIA takes control, it say, okay, you will not target AMD hardware anymore. So it's only available for NVIDIA hardware. And this is probably the best implementation of OpenACC. Because, of course, this is NVIDIA. They know very well the hardware, and they're working only for optimizing the code for targeting this hardware. So the NVCC, PGCC compiler, if you are using C, is probably the best option. For OpenMP, you have Clang that supports both AMD and NVIDIA hardware. It's at the moment the best implementation for OpenMP offloading. And in Clang or Flang, if you were using Fortran, AMD is working on it. So this is the implementation that AMD is providing. And in the case of GCC, it supports also the NVIDIA hardware and AMD hardware. And GCC can target the AMD hardware basically using the code generation of LLVM. So this is exactly the same as Clang. And this is the same comment as for OpenACC. This is an early stage, and in some case you may experience poor performance using GCC at the moment. So Clang is probably the best option if you wish to target, if you wish to use OpenMP and offloading to GPU. So the idea is that if you want to use a compiler directive, what is the best option? It really depends on what you want to do. If you want to target NVIDIA hardware, the best option, at least the one that gives you the best performance and doing less work, is OpenACC. You can install this compiler using the NVIDIA HPC SDK that is now available for free. And the PGI compiler, so PGI 19, is also available on Dragon 2. And if you want to use OpenMP to target NVIDIA, it's best to use the Clang compiler. If you plan to target AMD hardware, at the moment, we are not sure how fast we'll improve the OpenACC support for the GCC support for AMD hardware. So the best option at the moment is probably using OpenMP, in particular if you are targeting LUMI. If you read what they publish on the website of LUMI, they tend to say, okay, it's probably better to use OpenMP. In addition, on LUMI, you will have the Cray compiling environment, which support offloading to the GPU. Using OpenMP, I don't know about the performance of that because, of course, it's very difficult to have access to a Cray hardware, but we can guess that this compiler will be quite efficient. So if you plan to use LUMI in the future and that you want to target AMD GPU, the best option is probably to go for OpenMP instead of OpenACC, as we don't know yet how efficient will be the OpenACC implementation for GCC. So compiling your application. So this is the basic, all the basic flag that you need to use in order to target GPU using ClangFlang, GCC, and G4Tron. So if you want to use Clang or GCC, the first thing is to say, okay, you have to take into account the compiler directives, so the OpenMP directives, and you do that using the -f OpenMP keyword. This is the same for GCC and LLVM kind of LLVM based compiler. And then you have an additional option which specifies the targets for the offloading. And in the case of Clang or Flang, you specify NVPTX64 NVIDIA CUDA in the case of an NVIDIA GPU or AMD GCN or AMD HSA for targeting AMD hardware. Okay, so that's for Clang and Flang. So and GCC, you have to say, okay, I want to offload to NVPTX known or AMD GCN kind of hardware, again, to target NVIDIA or AMD. So NVPTX, basically, this is the intermediate language used by NVIDIA. This is a language that is compiled just in time to run on your GPU to be sure that your code is portable between GPUs. This is the reason why it appears in both the Clang and GCC compiler. For OpenACC, the keyword to activate it with the GCC compiler is -f OpenACC. And again, you use exactly the same keyword to specify the target hardware. So using the -f offload option. And if you use the PGI or NVIDIA compiler, you use NVC or PGCC. And the option to have access to OpenACC is -ECC. And I give you there a very useful keyword that flag that you might use is minfo equals Axel. And basically it will give you information on what the compiler understands of your code and which part of your code is parallelized by itself. So as the NVIDIA compiler is doing a lot of auto-parallelization, this is always useful to have some kind of compiler feedback of what it's actually doing. So you always use this option and you will see that we specify which loop it has parallelized. So in some case, it didn't parallelize a loop, but indicate to you that this loop should probably be parallelized. So it's always useful to include this keyword when you are compiling, at least if you are compiling only one file or doing your test. Of course, if you have a full project to compile and that you ask for compiler feedback, the output of your compilation can be quite large and you can remove it. But during the development time, this is quite useful to use this minfo Axel with the NVIDIA compiler. Okay. Data management. So As we have seen with CUDA, you need to copy the data from the CPU to the GPU. And this is something that we completely missed in the example with the SAXPY. Okay, and as with CUDA, and if you use IP for AMD hardware, this is the same. You need to make sure that all the necessary data for the computation is available on the GPU before entering the compute region. And you must make sure that the transfer the processed data back to the CPU memory at the end if you need to use it on inside with the CPU. So you need to copy to and from the device depending on your need. And the code that I presented to you at the beginning will probably crash because I didn't specify anything about data movement. In this case, what we need to do is at least have the alpha here scalar transfer to the CPU. By default, OpenMP and OpenSCC are copying the scalar to the CPU, so to the GPU, sorry, so we don't need to specify anything, but concerning the array X and Y, we need to copy them to the GPU memory. And if you use the NVIDIA compiler, there is a huge chance that because most of the thing is done automatically, the data management has been done. And so if you use OpenSCC and the NVIDIA compiler, the copy of the data has been done. But if you use it with GCC, then your code will crash because no automatic data management is performed. Okay, so what we want to do is copy the data. And this is done also using directives. So in the case of OpenMP, you use target data. It means on the target, so the offload, the target we want to offload, you have to move some data. And then you have the map clause, which specify which data should be copied and the way it should be copied. And you have, to this map clause, you have additional information that is given. And here I am quite verbose. The A and N is not necessary, but you can give more information to the compiler because they are scalar and they will be copied automatically to the GPU memory. But in this case, I specified. So to means copy to the device. So this is exactly as specifying host to device using CUDA. Okay, and the to from, it means that at the beginning of the kernel, it should be copied to the GPU memory, but at the end of the computation, this array should be copied back to the CPU memory. So this is the purpose of this to from. This is the default. If you don't use any keyword inside of the map, the default behavior is to from. So copy to the GPU before the calculation begins and copy back at the end of the calculation. In OpenSCC, you have similar keyword, which is data. So then you use the copy clause to say that you want to copy to and from. So at the beginning of the calculation and after the calculation, and copy in means that it should be copied to the memory only before the calculation, but it should not be copied back to the CPU memory. So this is the summary of this directive. With OpenMP, you use target data to give instruction to the compiler on how to copy your data to the GPU and from the GPU, and in OpenSCC you use the data directive. And you can divide this kind of operation in 4 categories. First, data that you will need on the GPU but will not be modified. This is the case that we had with our X. The X array in this case will just be used on the GPU but not modified. Okay, and then you have data that will be used just modified on the GPU, and then you have used and modified on the GPU. This is the case of the Y array that was used as an input and also as an output, and then created only on and used on the GPU. And in addition, you can consider some lifetime for the data which means that span only the scope of one scope and span multiple scope or source file. We will not cover this topic of unstructured data copy, but just to tell you that this is possible to span data region to multiple scope and source file. So a summary of the way you manage data is that in OpenSCC you just use clauses, okay, and in OpenMP you use the map clauses with additional option. So in OpenSCC, if you want to just copy the data to the GPU but not back after the computation, you use the copy in, and in OpenMP you use to. Copy out is just that you want to copy the data at the end of the data region, but you don't need to initialize it before the computation starts, so it's copy out and from. And then you have copy and to from, which is the default behavior for OpenMP, which means that you want to copy the data to and from the GPU. So you need the initial value of the data, and at the end of the computation, you want the result back to the CPU. And then you have the create clause that create the data, so malloc on the GPU, basically. And this is you use alloc in OpenMP to do so. You can use this clause with the workchain directive. So if the data is only the lifetime of the data is just for this loop, for example, on this AXPy, we can just use the target teams distribute for and then add the data clause after that. So we can use the map clause directly with the target teams. Okay, and omit the data keyword in this case. And you can do exactly the same with OpenSCC by specifying data clause inside the parallel construct. In the case of C++, if you have dynamically allocated arrays, you must specify the lower bounds and the number of elements of the array. Okay, so when you copy data, you have to give the lower bound. So most of the time it will be 0. You can omit the 0 and just put the column, and then you need anyway for dynamically allocated data, you need to specify the size of the array that you want to copy. Okay, so it can be semicolon, column n, omitting the 0, but at least you need to specify the number of elements that you want to copy. In Fortran, array information had already embedded in the data type. The language supported. So it means that the compiler and as well as the runtime can determine the size of the array. So you don't need to specify the lower bounds and number of elements of the array. However, if you want to copy a sub-array, a sub-range of this array, then you use exactly the same syntax, but in C++, this syntax, it's starting index plus the length as the second argument. In Fortran, to be consistent with the language convention, then it's start index and end index. So it's not the length of the array that is specified if you want to have a sub-range in Fortran. Quick word to say that it exists is that you may use unstructured data region. Okay, so far what we have discussed is a structured data region, so a data region that is well defined within the scope, within one source file, and it means that in the structured data region, the data will be copied or created at the entry of the region, or copy out or deallocated at the exit. You have the option to use unstructured data region that will be similar to doing a malloc or a free operation. So you have the target enter data in OpenMP or enter data in OpenSCC, and you have also the end of a region, so the allocation or copy out and the allocation, which is the target exit or exit data directive for OpenMP and ACC, OpenACC respectively. So just to mention that these directives exist and that you can use them, but we will not go into the details of this, as this is mainly an introduction and an overview of what you can do using directives with OpenMP and OpenACC. Okay, we will go through two small code, and we will study a little bit the behavior of this code adding directives. So the first one will be the Laplace heat equations, and then we will discuss a little bit the computing a Mandelbrot set. And then this will be the Laplace heat equation will be the occasion of some additional directive as well as the next example, and it's this, the next example will be concerning asynchronous operation. So basically we will do a small Jacobi iteration, so iteratively converge the solution by computing new value at each point from the average of the neighboring points. So you will have the point AJ that will be the average of all the neighboring points. And in our example, we will do a Laplace equation. So it's steady state heat equation. So you take the nabla of ftxy. So this is a very simple code. If you write it, this is the serial version of it. So while the error, which is the maximum difference between two iteration, is bigger than some tolerance, or that we are within the range of the maximum iteration, then we will do averaging of neighboring points to update the value of the a new array, and then we just copy this newly calculated value to the array that will be used for the next iteration. So it's a very, very, very simple code. And this is a code that is highly memory bound, because we have a lot of memory operation for very few compute operation. So most of the time on the CPU, it's not so easy to parallelize or to get at least a good scaling. And what we will do is consider 2D grid. The full code is available as in the zip archive on Indico. Grid size of 4096, okay, by 4096, and we will use, we will measure the execution time on the GPU node of the Dragon 2 cluster, okay, which is with a Xeon Gold CPU as well as NVIDIA Tesla V100 GPU. And for this example, we will using the Clang compiler version 10, and as well as OpenACC with PGI, the version 19.10. Okay, this is the basic setup of what we will do. Okay, so the first step is to parallelize it for the CPU in order to have some test run only on the CPU and have some timing. So if you do that with OpenMP, the basic idea, this is for the CPU. So we don't create the team of threads, okay? We just use the parallel for directive as well as a reduction operation to compute the maximum of the error, and then we do the copy, okay? So this is a very simple OpenMP, and the idea with OpenMP is that you can use this reduction clause, and the reason I mention it is that you can use it also on the GPU, okay? And it can be used with the parallel and teams work sharing construct. So the reduction is the idea is to reduce a set of numbers to a smaller set of numbers, and this is typical for the operation like a sum, a product, a difference, or finding the maximum and minimum value of inside of an array, as well as you can do logical operation. So this is a clause that was present in the basic OpenMP, so with OpenMP 3.0, and that was of course available in OpenMP 4.0, and it's available in when targeting the GPU. And so when we do the calculation. We run this on the CPU. Okay, if we do the basic calculation using the serial version, so on one thread, and then we use 4 threads, 8 threads, and 12 threads. You can see that we have a pretty good speed up with 4 threads, but then it's the speed up is not so good for 8 and 12 threads. This is probably because we are limited to the memory bandwidth. But anyway, this is not the best implementation of the CPU code but it's just to give you a basic idea of what we can get between the CPU and GPU version of the code. So it's probably not the best implementation for the CPU, but anyway, this is just to have a kind of a baseline. This is not I would say, strictly sensu, a good scientific measurement of the performance of the CPU as well as the GPU. So if we want to parallelize it on the GPU, the first solution, we will explore 2 solutions, and first with OpenMP. So the first thing we do is that we need the ANU and A array on the GPU. So first we create a data region that we span from the beginning of the while loop to the end of the while loop. So it will be active until we reach convergence or the number of iteration has been reached. Okay, so we need to copy the ANU to the GPU, and we use the default behavior for the A array. It means that you should be copied at the beginning of the calculation and copied back to the CPU at the end of the calculation, because we need the end result. And then we take the other loop and parallelizing with target teams distribute parallel 4 and specify that we want to have a reduction for the maximum value of the error. And we do the same for the second loop. So this is the first option, where we parallelize only the other loop of the of these 2 nested loop. Okay. A quick note about the data. Of course, we need to put it there. If we put it inside of the while loop, that is a pretty bad idea. If we do that, it means that at every iteration, we will be copied data from and to the GPU, which is not efficient at all. And as we don't need to have these data between the iteration in the CPU memory, we can just put it on the while loop, so that this data region is active as long as the iteration are running. And for the error, it's copied automatically by the compiler to and from the GPU between the kernels, the execution of the kernel. So it's available here on the CPU for every iteration. And this is the default behavior of the compiler. It will copy scalar back into the GPU automatically. Okay, the second option is to, as we have seen before, we can just distribute the teams, the iteration between the teams for the outer loop, and parallelize the inner loop by saying, okay, these teams should take care, the threads in this team should take care of the I iteration, and we do the same for the second kernel. And let's compare the performance that we get from that. So this is the results we get. Give these with one thread. Okay, this is what it's taking about 100 seconds. We have a speed up of almost 6 with 12 threads. Okay, if we use the first solution, which is just parallelizing the other loop, which is we get a speed up of about 20 compared to 1 thread, okay, which is 3.2 compared to 12 threads. This is always better to compare GPU and CPU using parallelized version. So it means using the full socket of the CPU, and then you consider that the GPU is a socket 2, and you do a socket to socket comparison. And the idea there is that we compare the socket of the CPU, so with 12 threads, and the GPU that we consider also as a socket. And so we here we have on the graph, we have the speed up compared to 1 thread, and then I write the speed up compared to 12 threads, which is probably a fairer comparison than just comparing it with 1 thread. So if we just parallelize the outer loop, we get 3.2 speed up compared to 12 threads, and almost double the speed up using the work sharing of the two loops. The reason is, if we just parallelize the other loop, we don't give the GPU enough parallelism. So here we just increase by splitting the way we distribute the iteration, we give to the GPU more parallelism to work on, and this increases the efficiency compared to just parallelizing the other loop and just run the inner loop as a sequential. So it's better to parallelize both these loops. In this case, we can see that the speedup is way better when you just split the iteration between the teams as well as the threads using OpenMP. Okay, for OpenSCC, we do the same experiment. We compare just parallelizing the other loop as well as parallelizing the other and inner loop. So in this case, we use the parallel construct with the loop directives as well as a reduction operator for the error, and we do exactly like with OpenMP, we do a copy of the A and A new array for the while loop. Okay, and this is the version when we parallelize both the loop using OpenSCC. And in this case, what we get is that we get a speedup of 4 times speedup with 12 threads, while with parallelizing the two loops, we have a 10 times speedup compared to 12 threads. So it's way better than using OpenMP. As I said, most of the compiler that supports OpenMP directive, this is early stage of development, and you may not get the best performance out of them. And on the other end, OpenSCC, in this case, we use the NVIDIA compiler, and of course, this is a compiler that is very, very well optimized for NVIDIA hardware. What we can try, as we have seen that giving more iteration to at least doing partitioning more or iteration space and giving the GPU more threads to work on, improve the result, is use a collapse clause. So we will collapse the two loop by the idea of the collapse is that we will take the two loops and just merge them into one. Okay, so it means that we will get a very big loop with a lot of iteration to work on. And this is done using the collapse clause, which means that which indicates to the compiler that you want to take the n next loop and merge them into one big loop, and the compiler will take care that the indexing is still correct inside of the loop, the loop code, the code that should be run by the loop. It will do the indexing for you, but it will collapse your loop nest into one. And we do that, so the idea there is that the J and I loop will be merged into one loop that will be n minus 1 multiplied by n minus m minus 1 iteration long, okay? And so we collapse this loop using the collapse clause. As we have two loops, we use 2 as argument to this collapse clause. And what is very important when you use the collapse clause is that there should be no code between the two declaration of the loop. So in this case, we have 2 for loop that just are tightly nested. So it's perfect for the collapse. And if you put some code between the two, it will not work. So you cannot do that. It's not legal. You need to have tightly nested loop in order to use the collapse clause. And sorry, and this collapse clause is quite interesting on the CPU if you want to, if you have one of your loops that have a very few number of iteration. It is way more important on the GPU, where this is very important to have a large number of iteration, you know, in order to have being able to generate a lot of threads that can be sent to the GPU. So this is one option that we can explore, and we can do the same in the case of OpenMP using exactly the same syntax using the collapse clause. And the result is that the collapse with OpenMP, improve the performance compared to the parallelization of only the other loop, but is slightly slower than distributing the loop between teams and threads and assigning the teams to the J loop and then the threads to the I loop. So collapsing with OpenMP didn't work so well. However, with OpenSCC, after collapsing, we get 8 massive speed up compared to 1 thread, but remember, if we compare to 12 threads, we got only 13.6 speed up with respect to the CPU with 12 threads. So this is something that you can expect of this kind of code that is not so optimized, but yeah, 13.6 speed up, which it is not so bad by just adding some directives to our serial code, so we can be quite happy about it. Okay, so summary with OpenSCC, speed up versus serial, we achieve something like 80.7 speed up. This is slightly lower, almost half of it with OpenMP. But we can expect that the OpenMP compiler will be better at generating GPU code in the future. And if we do a socket-to-socket comparison, which is way better than just compare it with respect to the serial, then we get a 13.6 or a 6.1 speed up for OpenSCC and OpenMP respectively. OpenSCC with PGI compiler display the best performance, but this is expected as this is a compiler created by NVIDIA, targeting NVIDIA hardware only, and we so of course, as they know the hardware better, most of the times they can generate more efficient code. But on the other end, targeting GPU with OpenMP is quite recent. And this is only the beginning of the implementation, and this implementation may lack some optimization, but you can expect it to become better and better. In fact, these exercises be done by other, and if you look back 2 or 4 years ago, the speed up they get from OpenMP was way lower than what we get now with OpenMP version 10. I didn't try version 11 and version 12 that are probably better now, but you can expect OpenMP to get better and better at generating GPU code with the time. So at the moment, it's not so great, but it works. After investigating a little bit, the problem of OpenMP looks like the reduction is the main bottleneck. If I just ignore the computation of the error, in both cases, OpenSCC and PGI, basically the computational part where they do the averaging of all the neighboring points, it's I take exactly the same time using OpenSCC and OpenMP, but as when we use the reduction and we want to compute the error, then this is where the OpenMP version is start to have some problem and become way slower than the version with OpenSCC. Okay, we will resume the session, and we will talk a little bit about asynchronous execution, and that will be the final part for this training session. So if you don't specify any additional clause, all the code that we have seen before with these directives, with OpenSCC as well as OpenMP, they are blocking. The CPU triggers the kernel and launch the data transfer, and they wait until the completion of this task. And the idea is that the operation are inserted into the default execution call queue of the GPU, and that the items in this queue are executed in the order in which they have been inserted. And however, in some algorithms, you can have the independent piece of work, and that can be executed in any order or simultaneously. And the idea is that things does not always require to execute in the order they appear in the code, and that data movement as well as computation can be overlapped. And to illustrate this, we will use a Mandelbrot set code. So this is something that will generate a Mandelbrot set, and you have the full code inside the zip archive. So this is the basic function that we will be using, and this function, we want to use it on the GPU. Oh, I made a mistake there. So the idea is that in order to have a function that is available on the GPU, we will use the OpenMP declare target on the OpenMP for OpenMP. And the idea is that, okay, we say to the compiler, why are you doing this? We say to the compiler that we want this function to be available on the GPU. So it should generate some code that is available on the GPU. With OpenSCC, we specify it by saying that this is a routine. So there is not OpenMP, but ACC. I did a bad copy paste there. So the idea is that you say to the OpenSCC compiler that this is a function that should be able to run on the GPU, and that function will be called and should be run sequentially on the GPU, and that there will be no additional parallelization to do on the GPU. So this is a summary of what we have just discussed. With OpenMP, you declare target, you use the declare target directive to specify that the variable of a function should be mapped to the device, and this variable or function can be accessed and executed on this device. So it's just to say, okay, this part, this code, these variables should be available on the GPU. So you declare a function or, for example, global variables using this kind of directives. In OpenSCC, you do this using the routine directive. And in OpenSCC, you have an optional clause that you can use, which say that a function may contain some level of parallelism. For example, if you have a gang level parallelism inside of this function, then you use the gang clause. If you have a worker or vector level of parallelism, you use the worker and vector clause. And if this routine should be called and executed sequentially, so not by multiple threads on the CPU, you use the sec clause. And the part of the code that will call this function is presented here, where we basically create an image that will be the result, okay, with a certain width and height. And then for each pixel, we will compute the Mandelbrot function for this image. So this is the goal of the loop inside the y and x, okay? And along the y-axis, we will divide the work into blocks, which is the most outer loop, okay? This is the first loop is a block loop, and this block will basically divide the y-axis. And then we compute the start and end of each block, and we do the iteration on the y-axis for the block, and on the x-axis we use the full width of the image, and we compute each pixel of the image using the Mandelbrot function. And in this case, we are inside the target region. We say, okay, this loop, this is a kernel and it should be run on the GPU. So we need to declare that the Mandelbrot function should be available on the GPU. This is why I presented you the declare target as well as routine directive in order to be able to call this function from the GPU within a target directive or parallel directive. Okay, and for each block, we update the final value of the image, and there was some problem in the compilation with LaTeX. I don't know why this backslash appears. So the idea with the target update is that we just want to update the value on the CPU for the block that just have been computed. So the target update directive make a list of item updated from the GPU or to the GPU. So the idea on OpenMP is that you have this update, and if you want to update value from the GPU and that you want to copy it back to the CPU, you use the from clause and the to clause if you want to copy a value to the GPU. So it allows you to update part of an array or a whole array inside of a data region. But it should be present in the CPU part. So in this case, all of this in the to loop, okay, we are inside of a kernel, but the target update directive is called from the CPU. This is the CPU that is supposed to do the update. So you cannot use a target update inside of a target region or a parallel region in OpenACC. Okay, and so OpenACC, you can do the same. So you can use the update directive, and then you have the update of the host or updating from the device. Okay, so you say that you want to update the host version, so the CPU version, or you want to update the value on the device or on the GPU. So this is the basic idea. We divide it in block, compute one block, and then update the value to the CPU. And of course, the image at the origin, we just allocated it on the GPU. We don't copy it from the CPU. We just allocate the variables on the GPU, and then we update the version on the CPU by block. But doing this, we are not really we not see a lot of improvement. We are just sending a lot of kernels, okay? But this is serialized. We have all the block that will be put in the default queue, and this default queue, the item in this queue will be executed serially. Okay. In our case, we don't have the copy to the GPU, but most of the time, this is what your typical computation will look like. You have a copy to a GPU, and then you have some computation, and then copy from the GPU, and then again a new kernel with copy to the GPU, computation, and copy from the GPU. However, with a GPU, this is possible to overlap the computation and the copy of the data to the GPU. And so the idea is to put the operation in multiple queues, and this queue will run in kind of a parallel way. And you have then, for the first queue, you have copy to GPU, then a computation. And when the computation is taken care of from the GPU, you can copy data to the GPU at the same time and then do some calculation. So the idea is to overlap computation and copy of the data by putting the operation in different queue. And Olivier mentioned it a little bit in his CUDA presentation, is that when you launch a kernel, you can choose a stream. And this is basically what we will do with OpenMP and OpenACC. We just submit computation and copy of the data to different stream of the GPU, and you can do that with CUDA if you want. When you launch your kernel, you can select on which stream the operation should be performed. So what we will do is using the no wait and depend clause with OpenMP, as well as the async instruction with OpenACC. So what we add there, okay, is that we add the no wait clause that is there. Unfortunately, this directive is quite long, so it's maybe difficult to read when you present both OpenMP and OpenACC. So in OpenMP, you see, we just use a new clause, which is the no wait. So it means that the CPU is not supposed to wait. It launches the kernel and then go back to execution. It's not waiting for the kernel to complete, okay? We do the same here with async in OpenACC. We say, okay, launch this kernel and then go back to your work. And we do the same with the target update. We add a no wait clause in this case, and we use the async, okay? And what we did also is specifying in OpenMP some dependencies. So this is dependencies that we indicate. So we say that for this block, the dependency will be this part of the memory, and I just specify the beginning of the block because it's way sufficient for OpenMP to understand what is the dependencies by just specifying one element. So the first element, if the first element is finished, it means that the whole block is finished because it concerns the whole kernel. Okay, and so in this case, I just I have to check something because this is not correct. What did I did? What did I do there? Okay. This should be in option in this case. So I will have to check that what I did and if there is a mistake in the sample code, but this is very strange. Okay, so the idea is that we add some dependencies for the computation and the update. And basically we say to the update that it should wait for the first element of the block to be computed in order to copy the data. And as the runtime will consider that if the full kernel is completed if the first element of the block is computed. So we just say launch the kernel and then do the update to the CPU only when this kernel for the block is finished. Okay, so we are kind of overlapping the operation because it can launch another kernel while updating the value from a previous block. And in the case of OpenSCC, we use 2Q and we use a modulo of the block in putting one kernel to the queue and then the update in the same queue, and for the next block it will be placed in another queue. And so we will get something that is very similar to this. We do we put the copy to computation and copy from in exactly the same queue for a block. Okay, but then for the next block we will put it into a second queue, and then you can have some overlapping when we have the update of the value to the CPU. And to be sure that everything is finished, we use the task wait and wait directives inside for the OpenMP and ACC code. We say, okay, wait for all the tasks to finish before continuing execution. So using this kind of clause, you can specify very complex dependencies, and here is also a small example of unstructured data region with OpenMP. So in this case, we allocate the memory on the GPU, and this is exactly like doing a malloc on the GPU, okay? So we allocate A, B, and C on the GPU, and then we initialize the value of A and B, and we say that the result of this assignment will be A and B for both of it, and then we do some calculation with A and B that we put into C, and what we say is that for this computation to be performed, we need to have the value of A and B, so we put the dependency to be in. So to start the computation, we need A and B, and as the we specify to this part that the result of the computation, so the out will be A and B, the runtime can determine in which order the operation can be done, but A and these two kernels for A and B can be run separately and can be scheduled to the GPU directly because they're independent for each other. The only limitation is that for the third kernel to start, we need to wait for the two first kernel to completely finished. Okay, and then we specify that this is we will copy out the C. Sorry, not copy, but this is the result of this kernel, so that the target exit, so the deallocation of the array as well as the copy will, as well as the copy from the CPU, the GPU to the CPU is performed. So we have this target enter, so we created the data, but before the allocating, we have to be sure that this kernel is completely finished, and it needs to be finished in order to have a copy of the final value to the CPU as well as the deallocation of A and B array. So this is why we put a depends in C in or target exit data. You can do something similar using OpenSCC, And this is by specifying different queues. So for the two first array, A and B, we use two asynchronous queue, the 1 and the 2, okay? And then we say that inside of Q2, we wait for Q1 to finish, okay? And by doing this, because this will be put after the instruction for the kernel for the B, we are sure that both B and A is initialized, because we wait for A and we put it after execution of the B kernel. So at this point where we have the wait 1 async 2, we are sure that both the kernel are completed, and then we add the final kernel inside the second queue in order to compute the final value of C. And we just exit the data by saying that we wish to wait for Q2 to finish before deallocating, as well as copying out the value of C to the CPU. What you can do also with the no-wait and async close is just as you launch the kernel and then go back to the CPU directly. So what you can do is kind of overlap the execution on the GPU and CPU. So basically you will send your kernel to the GPU, let the GPU execute it. And as we put the no wait and async close, it means that the kernel, when it's launched, it returns directly to the CPU, and we can do something on the CPU. And then we wait to be sure that the GPU task is complete to continue execution. So this is a way that you can overlap the computation on the GPU as well as on the CPU, can improve the throughput of your calculation, or let the CPU do a part of the calculation that might not be efficiently parallelized on the GPU, or is not efficient to be run on the GPU, either because you have not sufficient parallelism, or the CPU can just prepare data to be sent to the GPU for the next kernel execution. So this is a way to increase the efficiency of your code by overlapping the CPU and the GPU. And what you can do also using this kind of execution is that once you send a kernel to one GPU, then you can use the fact that you return back to the CPU to launch a kernel to another GPU. So this can be used in order to use multiple GPU with just one CPU thread. So this is also a possibility using the no wait and async close. When you don't specify a queue for the async close, you will just put it inside the default queue on the GPU, but the goal here is just to say, okay, I want to go back directly to the CPU instead of blocking until the GPU has finished execution. So this concludes the overview of the usage of directive for GPU. And now you can ask some question if you have some, and that's the end.
Okay, thank you, Orion. So we have time for questions, as Orion said. So we will stop the video, but we will stay longer to answer questions in the Q&A. Do not forget the certificate of the survey about the certificate of participation if you need it, and also the quality survey on Indico. Thank you for your participation.